Hi friends and family. So I'm making this video today because since me and Andrew announced our pregnancy in July, we've been having a lot of people just like asking how things are going and wanting to see like pictures of baby bump, like all that kind of stuff. So since today's my due date, I thought I would show you guys my baby bump. So as you can see, I don't have one. So this is my story about our beautiful baby boy. Okay, so I'm going to try and keep this story as short and sweet as possible, and if anybody has any questions after, please feel free to text me or message me. But if you're sticking around till the end just to figure out like what happened, I'll just save you the video time right now and let you know that we don't know. Like, we still don't know to this day. My doctor, who was amazing, said that there was nothing he could see on my end, nothing that he could see on baby's end, and he just kept calling it like a freak accident. So yeah, I also just kind of want to say that like this is my own story, my own opinions, my own thoughts, so don't get pissed off if I say something that you don't agree with. This is just like my own personal story. So I guess I'll just kind of start from the beginning. When we announced our pregnancy, we actually waited a really long time because I had had a miscarriage right before this, and so I just wanted to make sure everything was perfect and ready to go. So I didn't announce until I was about 16 weeks. So we went in for the baby's 20-week appointment and everything was absolutely perfect. She checked his lungs and his stomach and everything, and he was moving around. He really never stopped moving around. And so a few weeks later, that's when I knew something was wrong, because all the movements that I could feel like constantly just stopped. Of course, like an idiot, I went to the internet and just started, reading what everybody was saying, and everyone was saying, babies sleep all the time, so you gotta remember that, but ours was different. Like, he moved all the time. And so I went to work on a Thursday morning, and in like the very end of August, and I just remember like I had the weirdest feeling all day, and I'm like, something's wrong, like I just knew. And so about lunchtime at work, I texted Andrew and said, hey, I'm just gonna go to the doctor just to double check, like peace of mind, everything will be okay. And so I left work and we went to the doctor, sat in the waiting room forever, as usual. And we got into the room. My doctor at the time, she pulled out the ultrasound thing and started moving it around on my stomach. And the second that she touched it to my stomach, and you could see the baby on the screen, like my whole world stopped. And honestly, like, it hasn't started since that day. There was no movement, like, at all. So the baby was just there, and like there was no fluids moving around, like anything like usual. And I didn't even want to turn and look at Andrew because I felt so like disappointed in myself. Like, I thought it was something that I did wrong. But like I said, the doctors have reassured me a million times that like there's nothing I could have done, that I did everything I could to like take care of that baby. So I have to tell myself that every day. But yeah, so she didn't say anything for a really long time, and then finally I was like, so, and she just said, I don't know what happened, like, he's, there's no longer a heartbeat. And so then she had to have another doctor come in, and he had to confirm, and we were supposed to actually leave for California the next day, which I later found out that Andrew's family was throwing me like a surprise baby shower, which, like, bless their heart. I feel terrible about that, but so at one point I just said something like, hey, we need to cancel the flights for tomorrow. And I don't want to like say bad things about my previous doctor. We can talk about that. in private, but I don't want to post this like on the internet for everyone to see. But it just wasn't a very like pleasant experience. So I ended up having another doctor there for the delivery, so it does have to be a full delivery. He was at a stage where babies live, like at that age, all the time. And so I think that's the hardest thing, is if I would have known that something was even like kind of wrong, we could have just been in the hospital for a really long time, and I would have rathered that than any of this ever. But I ended up going in on the next day, so on Friday they called us and we packed our bags, went to the hospital, and everybody was so nice there. Well, almost everybody. Like, all the nurses were absolutely amazing. And they put like a little white sign underneath the room number. Andrew's the one that noticed that, and they put like all these treats outside of the room for anybody that would like come to visit. So that was really nice of them. But they told me like when I got there that you need to have an epidural, just so you don't feel it. You don't want to, and I was totally on board with that. So they give you a little pill that like makes you contract, and you take it every 3 hours, and it gets to the point where they're really strong really, really fast, just because my body wasn't ready to like go into labor. So forced me into labor. I did the epidural about 14 hours after I started those pills, and I think I waited so long. A lot of people ask me like, well, why didn't you just do the epidural right off the bat? Like, you don't have to feel the contractions, you don't have to go through any of that. But deep down I knew that once I did the epidural, then that means it's closer to delivery, and I just like I couldn't face that. But finally it was like 5:30 in the morning, and I know I needed to sleep because I wouldn't sleep for the next who knows how long. So took the epidural, got the epidural. I believe it was a Saturday night, so on September 1st. They told me I would feel like a weird drop, and then I knew then that's like when the baby was coming. So I was laying there and I felt that drop, and I just lost it. Like, I could feel him right there, and it's one of the hardest things. Like, I hate to think about it because those memories never go away. But they came in and we did the delivery, and I'm not gonna cry, you guys. I've done it too many times. He was beautiful. Like, I never knew what love was until I got to hold him, and I never like felt the love that I did for Andrew in that moment as well. And I knew that he like felt the same way, and I honestly would have done anything. Hi, Bubba. I would have done anything to like make that moment go away, or just to have the baby take like one breath, just anything. But it didn't happen, and so we got to hold him. They said that we can have him as long as we want, but as most of you know, or as probably actually not very many people know, they don't stay in like their perfect form for very long. And so we got to hold him for about 30 minutes, and my mom was in the room, and like, she was so amazing. I'm so glad she was there, because she was holding Andrew with one arm and holding my hand with the other arm when we were both just torn to pieces, like just broken. And she got to hold him for a few minutes. And unfortunately Andrew's family was out of town, but his dad was home, so he could come up the next day to see him. So what they do is there's like a morgue downstairs, and they'll keep him down there like in a cold room, just to like preserve the body a little bit longer. So I'm so glad that like Mike got the chance to hold him as well, so as many people as could see him could see him. Anyways, so we deliver the baby, we have all that stuff going on. I think like one of the hardest things is you have to fill out so much paperwork while you're there, and I don't know how it goes in a normal pregnancy. I'm sure you have to fill out paperwork there too, but you're filling out like birth certificates and then a death certificate. You also have to talk to like the mortuary and get all of that figured out. If you're 24 weeks or more, you're required to do some sort of like burial or cremation or whatever you want to do, which I would have done regardless, but that was just really hard too, like dealing with all of the emotions on top of having to plan some sort of burial as well. So even though it was such a like horrible moment in our lives, some of the things that were like amazing that I like can't thank people enough for were, one, all of the support from like our friends and family, all of the texts and flowers and like gifts and everything that everyone's given us. Like I'm always wearing a necklace that somebody's given me. Like right now I'm wearing one from Natalie and Riley, and it just has his initials on it, EGB. So we named him Easton, and that was the name that we had picked out for quite some time. This was the room that he was gonna be raised in. We were gonna do like sports all over the wall and do like Easton baseball bats and whatnot. But some of the other things that were absolutely amazing, like I said, the nurse is there. Some a little better than others, but I had one, I don't know her name, but she made everything like so much more comfortable, just because when something like that happens, you don't know. I mean, I know that you can hold them, but like I've always felt weird, like at funerals and things like that when people are touching the bodies, just because I've never been in that situation, and it makes me uncomfortable personally. But she was pointing out like little things, you know, about his hands and like the little like grooves on his hands and his feet, and like how cute his lips and his little like button nose were, and having me like touch his hands and touch his head. And I'm so glad that she was there for that, and like made me feel comfortable and made me feel like it was okay. And I honestly, like, I don't know what I would have done if I didn't get that opportunity. So yeah, I don't know her name, but she was amazing. And then last but not least, for anybody who has lost a child, they know this, but there are people that come into the building and they do all these awesome like services for you. They bring you a box that you can take all of your things home with. So I took everything, like the blankets that he was wrapped in, you know, all the little signs that say like it's a boy, things like that. But they come in and they do, they're called Share, and they do like molds of his hands and his feet, and just give you all of this information on like, hey, these are support groups, this is like if you need anybody, if you need to talk to anybody, this is where you can go. Another thing that was absolutely amazing, I don't know if it's like a company or just a person, but it's called Now I Lay Me Down to Sleep, and they do pictures. So I never saw it happen or anything, I just got the pictures a few weeks later, but she came in and they do them in like black and white, and they're absolutely beautiful. She did such a good job, so we got those as well. So that obviously was the hardest day, not only dealing with all of that, but you have to deal with all of the like postpartum, I guess is the word, like all of the stuff that happens afterwards, like your milk coming in and all the bleeding and like all of that stuff. You still have to deal with that, but you don't have a baby there. So I think something that like breaks my heart, or something that I can just like recommend, I guess, to people in general is, I know like everybody has bad days and like bad things that happen, like maybe your kid breaks their arm, or they're not feeling well, or they're being cranky, or they're being brats or whatever. I I see a lot of people like post about this, and not that I'm trying to like compare my life to theirs in any way, but so badly I want to write them back and just say like, be thankful. Like, even if you're having a bad day, if you're having a bad day with your kid, like, remember that you have a kid, and that you get to like hold them and squeeze them and love them, because not everybody has that opportunity right now. So just, I don't know, remember that. Sorry, there's gonna be a million cuts in this video because I can't keep it together like I thought I could. Anyways, so we leave the hospital on I think Sunday night or Monday. I honestly don't remember. And we did the burial on Thursday. And I know that I hurt a lot of friends and family by not inviting everyone to this burial, and I'm sorry. But for me, I needed to get it out of the way. I didn't want a lot of people to be there. I just wanted it to be done so badly. I went to the mortuary on Tuesday and he was buried on Wednesday, and I pushed for that to happen because I just couldn't handle it anymore. So yeah, we decided to do a like family and friend barbecue at our house on that following Sunday. And the reason for that, like, it felt a little soon and it felt a little rushed, but I think I owed it to like my friends and family because I wasn't responsive. I didn't have very many people at that burial, but I had all the things from the hospital that I wanted to share with all of these people, but I just didn't want to do it like individually. I just didn't have it in me. So I had everybody over, and we did, like, I showed them, I have a whole case of like stuff downstairs that I have of him. And like since then I've gotten all of his pictures back and shared those with a few friends and family, and we had amazing support. Like, so many people were there that I didn't think would be able to make it, and I'm like forever grateful that everyone could come and like show their support to us. And not only that, but like do all the little things that all of my friends have done since then. Like Taylor, for example, has sent me flowers I don't know how many times, and Megan, and like Riley and Natalie have been right there by our side. And I have a new work friend and her name's Holly, and she's even been there for me more than like most people that I've known almost my whole life. And just all of these people who really like stepped up and not just said like, hey, are you okay? But like they came and made sure I was okay. They made sure that I ate, and was like actually taking care of myself, because some days I just wasn't, and some days it's still hard to do that. And I think that's one of the hardest things, is that this happened in September and it's now Christmas time. And the holidays are just hard for anybody that's ever lost anybody. Doesn't matter what time, doesn't matter when it was, like, I understand that it's always hard. But I think for a lot of other people, like, they're not living this life, and so it's so easy to be like, oh man, that sucks, I'm sorry, let me do all these things for you. And then people just slowly disappear because they don't realize that you're still hurting and that you still really need friends and you really need family. And I think that's been the hardest part, is sometimes you just have to do it alone. And when I say alone, I mean like Andrew and I, but you can't just bug people out of their lives every single day and say that you need something or you need somebody. You just have to like continue on because that's what everybody else is doing. I went to my like 4-week checkup. So after you deliver, you go and you meet with the doctor and just talk about like how things are going. He'll put you on like birth control or whatever at that point, like if that's what you're wanting to do. And I was really hoping that that was going to be an appointment where he would give me some sort of answer to like, hey, you know, we found this out, or hey, next time like don't do this. Even though I followed every freaking rule I could think of, but he told me, you know, there's nothing that you did wrong. It's so easy to blame yourself, and I think, like I mentioned earlier, like that's probably one of the hardest things, is just, not that I would have ever wanted to do something that would like hurt him, but it's hard to know that like, I don't know what happened. Like, I wish there was some sort of explanation so I know that like next time things could change. But I don't know that, and that's what scares me about like thinking about having another one, is that we don't know what's wrong, and we don't know what happened, and everybody's been so positive at being like, you know, things are gonna be okay, the next one's gonna be perfect, but I guess it's a lot easier for like other people to say right now. And really I hope that when we do have another one someday that things will be different, and I know I need to keep like that positive mindset. But anyways, I don't know if I answered anybody's questions or put anybody's mind at ease a little bit more, but I told all of my friends and family from the beginning that I wasn't going to post anything on social media, but it's been a few months now, and I don't feel like I owe it to anybody to sit and tell you like this story, but it's really hard to have people constantly like ask how the baby's doing, or ask to see, you know, baby bumps. And I know that's nobody, like, I'm not saying anything like rude towards anybody else, because nobody knew. And I think that was the biggest problem, is that nobody knew. Like, nobody said anything. All my friends and family kept it quiet. They didn't say anything because I asked them to. But I would rather like this story not get twisted, or anybody just kind of like make their own assumptions. I'd rather them just hear it straight out of my mouth of what happened and how like I'm feeling about things. But I think like the biggest thing, the whole reason that I wanted to make this was because a few months ago, when all this happened, I was just walking through Target. It was right before we got to the mortuary, and like my milk came in, so I had to go get the little like boob pad things. I don't know what they're called. But I was walking through Target, and my hair, I hadn't washed my hair in days. I was in sweats, like I just was a mess. I had no makeup, but my eyes were just rubbed raw, and I could feel people like looking at me, and I don't know if it was because they were like, oh man, she looks rough, or like, oh, she's having a bad day, or whatever it was. But in that moment, I realized that like, that was me. Like, I feel like I used to do that all the time. And I wouldn't judge people to the point where I'd be like, oh, like, they're terrible people, and, you know, but you just look at people and you know that like, wow, someone's having a bad day, or like, someone hasn't showered in a while. And instead of doing that, I guess like the biggest thing now is like, I think everybody needs to just kind of take a step back and realize that like everybody is going through something. Like, whether you know it or not, people are hurting, and people are dealing with deaths and sicknesses and all sorts of other things that I can't even think of because I'm not going through them. But instead of looking at people and just assuming that whatever it is about them, like, since it's the holiday season, try and like really do something like genuinely nice for somebody else, or like go out of your way to help somebody, because somebody might be really needing it, or just a compliment, like something. Because in that moment I knew that like the way I was being looked at, and the way that I know I've done that to other people, it was a really big eye-opener for me that like life isn't about how you look, or, you know, all the beautiful things that you have. It's about your friends, and it's about your family, and it's about you as a person, like how you treat other people. And if that's all you take away from this, then I'd be happy, because I've just been treated so different lately. And instead of not knowing what to say, or so you don't say anything, or just acting like nothing's wrong. Like, take the time. Like, people want you to ask questions because they would rather you ask them to them than go and ask everybody else that might not know the full story. And honestly, like, that's all I got. I just want to be able to share my story with you guys. Like I said, reach out if anybody has any questions or anything like that, that I might have, like, not brought up in here. And just be kind to other people. That's all I have. Merry Christmas.